Hey, welcome back to Next Third Best Third. I'm David Fenwick, the founder and the host, and I'm here with my Do Everything friend, Taylor Lees, who produces this, and we dig into so many different topics, don't we?
Yeah, they all come from normal life, discussions.
Yeah,
so it's fun.
Which is fun. But today we're gonna talk about something that you brought up, and I'm gonna turn it over to you in a minute. But I think there's this image of that people say that the strong silent type, a man is attractive if he's the strong silent type. Yeah. But we're going to blow that whole thing up and explore what silence in a man really means, the danger of being silent. Why are men silent? And so what got you so interested in this?
Well, I was talking to a friend of mine. We go hunting together, and he's a good dude, loves sports and loves the Longhorns. So we would, talk about that. And so we've been hunting a couple times together, fishing a couple times together. So I see him as a friend,
Yeah.
And so I checked in with him, be like, "Hey, bro, how's it going? Like, how we need to hang out. Let's watch a game or like go hunting." I got a little deer lease out here, so I was like, "Dude, let's get you on a deer." And he was like, "Yeah, man, I'm doing all right. Consider all the loss I've gone through and everything." And I was like, "Back up." I'm like, "Loss? What do you mean?" And in the and this was a text, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, dude, I'm down to go hunting." All that, kind of dodged it, and then at the end, he said, "Yeah, I'll let you know when we, I'll kind of give you more details when we get to hang out." And I'm like, "But the loss has occurred." And I in my feeling, I can like feel the stuff. I'm like, something happened with this marriage. Something. And so I was texting him recently trying to set up a hangout. And he's like, "Well, yeah, I have my boys that weekend." And he used that line. And I was like, "Oh yeah, bro, we'll figure something out." But I mean, what do you mean? What do you mean you have your boys this weekend? Are you separated? And he said, "Yeah." And I was like, "Dude, why didn't you tell me? Like, why didn't you tell me you and your wife were struggling? And why didn't you tell me it got to the point that it like really impacted to the point where they separated?" And we could have talked. We could have, all four of us met. We could have maybe done something to help. And so that's where I was telling you, why are men so private and quiet? And when things like this happen, and I know it's nothing new. This is just something that just happened recently, to the point I'm like, what do I have to do to tell a dude, like, because I'm like, "Dude, I'm here for you, man. Anything you need, like, let me know if you need anything." But we just take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Since we started Next Third Best Third, the common theme that I find with all the guys that we work with and all the guys that I meet one-on-one and guys that I do group calls with is that men really struggle with opening up. And there's lots of reasons about that, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the big ones is societal conditioning. You had mentioned something about growing up and your friends, and dig into that because I think that's so common for all of us, even our age difference. I had the same experience that you did.
Yeah. And I mean, I firmly believe what you behold, you become, but some things you don't behold it. You're just in that naturally, like you're in that culture. And what I mean by that is, like, I was raised in a culture, and so there's no, I couldn't just run out of it or get out of it. I was underneath my parents. I was born, and I'm there. They're raising me.
Doing a good job.
Doing a great job. And, by the time I was able to get out of the house, I made that decision to leave when I was like 17. And, but for 17 years, I was underneath a culture. And yet, it's not that I beholded that culture, but because I was shaped by that culture, I feel like there's a difference. My natural like way of life would, like, there would be certain decisions or certain feelings, certain way of thinking that I would just naturally pick up, not because I was taught that, but I was shown that. Yeah. So like growing up, nobody in my life taught me or told me, "Hey, you can't share your feelings. Like no one told me that or taught me that, but I was shown that. Like I was telling you before we were going, I don't remember my dad ever saying, "Hey son, you can't share your feelings with me." I don't remember him ever saying that. But I also don't ever remember him saying, "Hey son, it's okay to share your feelings with me. I'm safe. I'm a safe place where you can." I feel my dad just naturally thought that was like, duh. Like, duh, you're my dad. I can share that.
I guarantee you he wasn't taught either, right? And this is the thing that we want to do is we want to address this so we can examine where we are, take honest appraisal, and then with intention make changes. My dad was a very well-known guy in our community. I grew up in a smaller town. He had a business. Everyone liked my dad. My dad was funny, good-looking guy. Everyone liked my dad, but he was really, really a hard worker. He was busy, and I've said this on different episodes where my dad was kind of an absentee father in a sense, right? Because he was just working all the time.
Yeah.
The only emotions I ever remember seeing my dad model were his humor, because he was so funny. We laughed a lot.
Yeah.
But also anger. He over the years, when my oldest brother was born, my dad had a real anger issue. And then over time, things changed. I had a brother pass away, and my dad really tempered at that point. But he would get angry just at life, right? So, I mean, there was either a yelling, or there was humor, or there was just no engagement whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so, like you, I didn't have anybody say, "Don't share your feelings." I didn't have anybody say, "Well, don't cry." That's, because a lot of guys that I've talked to were taught that.
Yeah.
Don't cry.
Yeah, and I've never, my dad has never told me, you don't cry.
Me either. So I was very fortunate with that. But I never had any concept of being vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting because I'm like kind of stuck with why, where did it start? Because I know my grandpa, from, he's a good man. He was a pastor and everything, but I know my dad got it from somewhere. And so it kind of passed on to me. But at the same time, I'm like, so where did it start? Was it always conditioned that way? For the generations, having, men were supposed to be this way.
Yeah.
They go out, they hunt, they provide, and then the women, they gather to take care of the family. Looking at history, it's almost like men were supposed to be this way.
Well, I think that all men from beginning of time were created to be producers, providers, producers, builders, that kind of thing, which is a good thing. But if your identity is completely or solely or even more heavily weighted merely as a producer, think about what that would mean just in the workplace. So let's say you're in the workplace and you're struggling. And if you're struggling in the workplace and or even merely uncertain about things, and you show that weakness, you get vulnerable in the workplace, man, all of a sudden it casts doubt on your ability to produce, right? And
let's do a quick exercise. What and just give me the first thought or answer you give.
Okay.
When I say this word, what is the first thing you think of? Provide.
Man.
Mm-hmm. Okay. My first when I money.
Money. Okay.
And I'm like, crap. But it's so. And then what's let's do what's the first thing you hear when you first word husband?
Strong.
Okay. Let's see. Father.
Lover, because I've got 6 kids, and I'm a loving father, very emotional.
Yeah. For me, when I say it, and then I'm trying to think of the first. I got stuck. Husband, I was like, and then father, I'm like, but then when provide, I was like money.
Right.
And when I think about that,
that's interesting.
It's interesting because right now I'm stressed out about that area. And I think you were bringing up your father, how he had anger issues and stuff. Because, I feel like my dad had some anger stuff, too, growing up. I have some of it, and I'm working on it. But I realize the reason why I'm so angry, or not angry, but well, no. The reason why I struggle with it is because I'm stressed out about the provision side.
Yeah.
Like there's something attached to my anger.
Yeah.
So when I take a step back, when I'm like getting frustrated with my son for being creative and drawing on the door because he saw art in something and drew on the door, but then I get angry. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And he starts to cry. I'm like, it's okay. But why did you decide it? But he just saw a canvas and but my first reaction is, whoa,
Right.
stress.
Right.
And it's because I was stressed out with work. I was stressed out with life stuff that poured onto my son. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm noticing that more and more where I'm trying to work on it. Thank God I have a wife that's like, hey babe, I got this. Like
Right.
I got this. Go just take a breath real quick.
Yeah.
But I think it's attached to your father was in a culture of stress that caused the anger.
Yeah, I'm sure that is. And I think going back to, what do you think of when you husband, father,
Yeah.
but this reality that we're providers and producers, right? That's a reality. Mm-hmm. That's a good thing. It's an admirable thing. It's the right thing. Mm-hmm. But if our identity is merely that, all of a sudden you get to even think about it with your wife, guys, with your spouses, you're under this identity of being a provider and a producer. And if you show weakness, there's some connotation that I'm failing someone.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Which is a big deal, right?
I feel failure every day. I feel it. Am I one? No. But I feel failure every day.
Yeah.
Because I know that the thought is coming in. But also I feel like that feeling of failure makes me want to be quiet. Also makes me want to be silent.
Oh yeah. I think that you say that feeling of failure, I would probably say that there's a fear of failure.
Sure.
And that fear pulls us in, to be silent. And this is one of the reasons I think men are silent. I think when I think of this whole thing, I think that men have two labels when they think of, what manhood is. And one is either that you're weak or you're strong.
Yeah.
You're either a weak man or you're a strong man, right? And strong, what does that mean? The culture I grew up watching television and Hollywood and everything was a man, you suck it up, You just stick to it, you suck it up, you toughen up and you just make it happen, know? And again, if you don't have any comparison, any alternative, right, that you can balance things out, no wonder we have a culture of men who are afraid to be real.
Gosh, yeah. It's because we've been shown that. And I mean, it took a while for me I'm still working on it, but I went through therapy for like 3 years. Mm-hmm. And the therapist, who was a woman, not a man, but a therapist, which I think is interesting too. Like, it wasn't another man telling me this, was a woman, like telling me like, and coaching me through this of like having that ability to share my feelings and it be safe and okay. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like sometimes men will share their feelings to their wife and their wife would totally cut them off, shut them down.
Right.
And to where like it is a two-way street. And I'm speaking, to men who are married or have a partner, your girlfriend, whatever, things to look out for is, communication's huge. So if I approach Caitlin all the time with my feelings and she shuts me down every time, I'm going to stay quiet. I'm not going to share my feelings, but thank God we know how to communicate now.
Right.
Where I can share something and she'll be like, oh, okay. Thanks for sharing that. Like she thanks me for sharing. Mm-hmm. And growing up, man, I don't remember much about being thanked for sharing my feelings.
Right.
Yeah.
I think what happens, I've talked about societal conditioning. Another thing, though, is fear of judgment. Mm-hmm. And that's, am I going to be judged as weak? Am I going to be judged? And it's interesting, Taylor, because I know you and I, are the 5 pillars of next third, best third. One of them is relationship, right? And this is really where this thing falls under is relationship. But you can't be frivolous and just share with everybody, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, you know, we talked about this before we started filming. If you go to a bar and have a couple beers with some guys, you're going to be watching sports. It's very topical. That's not the spot to where you're going to open up and be vulnerable.
No.
But it does take a cultivation of relationship, right? You and I have developed a relationship that we can tell each other just about anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
And it's safe.
Yeah.
You know? But that has taken time. You know, that's taken time. It's taken really being vested in being courageous enough, because there's steps that you take in that, right?
Yeah. Because, I mean, because it's, you can tell me all day long, hey, I'm safe, but then over time you're gonna demonstrate and prove that you are. Because like we've been around so many. I mean, it's just culture. Like, hey man, how are you? I'm good. How are you? But I'm dying inside.
Right.
But I'm like, oh, I'm good. I was like, oh, good, man, that's awesome. You're like, yeah, work's great,
That's
family's
right.
great,
That's
good,
right.
it's great, but I'm dying inside.
And it's funny because so many people say, hey, how you doing? And they don't really
They
care.
don't really care how you
So
really do.
the answer saying, hey, I'm fine, I'm good, everything's great. Good, I did my due diligence. I asked you and you told me. You know?
I actually did this once. I was just done with the church. I was done with the fakeness. I was done with all of it. And I remember when I started going back to church, there was a bunch of people that knew me from my previous church outings, and they came up to me and they were like, oh my gosh, Taylor, it's good to see you. How are you? It's really good to see you. And I looked them in the face and I was like, is it really? Like, and this was in front of like the crowd. Like, I said it out loud. I was like, is it really? Is it really good to see me? I haven't heard from you in years, and you used to be my friend.
Wow.
I said it out loud, and it, like, they were like, it kind of caught them off guard, because honestly, that was honest truth. Yeah, it was a little jerk move of me, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm tired of this fake thing. Like, I'm like, if it was really good to see me, don't use those words. Like, use something else. But at the same time, I'm like, you weren't. I went through hell, and you disappeared. So now it's good to see me that I'm back.
Yeah.
And so, but then now that created this culture, this new way of thinking. Like, I can't trust you when you say, hey, how are you?
Right.
Because if everyone, like, because of that scenario, but.
Well, you know, trust is real difficult to earn. It's really difficult to earn trust, but you know what? It's really easy to lose.
It's easier to lose, huh?
Real easy to lose trust. You know, and I think that's where that fear comes in. It's like going, okay, you know, unless it's intentional. So when I went through everything that I went through 7 years ago, right after my wife left, I was so incredibly blessed, I'll say it, to have guys from all over the United States who would check in on me and call me. Guys who I had built relationships with, and it was huge in my recovery. I was on a group call with some guys yesterday, and one of the guys asked me a question. He says, well, you know, how did you overcome? How did you go from, you know, your brokenness and get to the place where you are? And it was a loaded question. It was a big question. But one of the things that I had to say was, it was men in my life. It was men in my life who were there for me. They were reaching out. They were checking on me.
Who didn't allow you to stay silent.
Who didn't allow. Absolutely. Absolutely. They wouldn't allow me to disappear, because it was so easy at that point for me to be isolated.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because I was going through all the grief.
Yep.
And again, I didn't want people to see me in that broken state.
Because why?
Again, because why? Well, one is probably for me, the big thing was shame. Embarrassment.
Yeah.
I was shamed. I mean, here's a guy I've been married, you know, almost 30 years. I was a pastor. I'd been and then my wife leaves, and it's like, I don't want to. Yeah, I'm not going to go share that with people, you know. And so
you're not going to wear the T-shirt.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But I had guys who I trusted, and then I started Next Third Best Third, and I started to get really intentional with other men, and I found out, man, I can do this with other guys too.
Yeah.
But I had to cultivate it,
Mm-hmm.
It had to be earned.
Yeah. Man, I mean, and that's what's tough is like you had that, you saw that, but I mean, luckily too, you're pretty wise and you're a pastor, so you kind of understand, because you've probably pastored and been with other men who've gone through that situation before you did.
Yeah.
So you went through your darkness, but you knew that you needed other guys to help you and all that. But I mean, the gentleman from the Dallas Cowboys, I'm a huge Dallas Cowboy fan. So hearing about, Marshawn Nealon, and he committed suicide.
Yeah.
And what I thought was interesting, which I love that they talked about this on ESPN on the podcast. I mean, on their show on NFL Live. But I love Dan Orlovsky. Like he's become one of my favorite analysts and human beings for me, because he's so open about the gospel, and he's on a public stage on ESPN talking about God and literally publicly leading people in a prayer on ESPN. Are you kidding me? And he said, as an athlete, I would never have told you I was struggling.
Right.
I feel like I'm conditioned in that way. I feel like, honestly, as a man, I'm conditioned in that way. And here's the full clip for you to watch, but I thought this was super, super interesting.
Dan, you brought up a point that I think is really important, this idea that people feel like it's a bad thing or admitting some sort of weakness to ask for help. And I wonder how we can work on that even as a society. I mean, it's not just a football problem.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously like not a doctor by any means, but like when Peter says, like, check in, are you okay? I don't know how you feel about it, but like as an athlete, I would have never told you I was struggling. I would have never done it. If you called me and said, yo, you've been good, I'd be like, I'm fine. Because like I feel like I'm conditioned in a way and like that. I feel like, honestly, as a man, I'm conditioned.
Do conversations like this help maybe think that you would do it differently? That it's open, I mean, on this set?
Yeah, I think so. I think that like, again, this feels like it's happening more. It's, 3 or 4 names this year. I know like a person like Elaine Johnson has spoken out in support of it. And I do think that there's that like barrier that has to get broken down. And I'm speaking just from an athlete's perspective, but I also think that this is for everyday people, that aren't the NFL players that don't score the touchdown on Monday night, to be willing to be like, yo, I'm in a bad place right now. And it doesn't mean that I'm a bad person or I'm headed down the wrong direction. Because like Peter, your point of the touchdown, like, I think that what gets lost sight of it is like, that's 10 seconds. So that young man got to the 10 seconds, this is the best. But then 4 minutes later, you're like, okay, that's over. It reminds me of the Scotty Scheffler stuff this
where
past
he
summer.
talked about when you reach the mountaintop and it may not be everything.
On Monday, you're like, okay, what's next? Yeah. And, for football, it's like there's extremes. It's like 3 weeks ago, you were on the defense that got 40 hung on you. Now you're scoring a touchdown on Monday Night Football. How do you handle all those extremes? And like your point of the social media stuff too as well, where I guarantee there's athletes and guys in the league that are looking at like people in social media that maybe aren't in the NFL and craving a little bit of that life because there's a normalcy to it, rather than the celebrity element.
Yeah.
So in hearing that clip, I'm like, my goodness, like I'm so glad they brought this up, because I feel like there's men out there that won't speak up, but I'm going to encourage you need to, because I was one of those guys. Like I struggled with suicide for a while. I attempted a few times. I didn't tell anybody. Thank God I had like a fear kind of come over me in a way, like, is this how I really want to go? Like, you know,
it's interesting because Marshawn Nealon, his 2-year career, he was successful. He was making good money. He was successful.
On the outside,
it
looking
seemed
good.
like everything was pretty good.
Yeah.
But this is where silence and isolation gets so dangerous for everybody. So look at a man who's a leader. He might be head of a corporation. He might be a senior pastor at a church. He might, he's got a position. Those guys find it really difficult to be open, because it's not only is there a fear of judgment, but there's also a fear of being taken down, losing your job, exposing too much. And there's a study that's out about why do pastors fail. And I know all of us have seen this, and there's some cynicism that creeps in and saying, well, so-and-so, what a hypocrite and all this kind of stuff. But more likely than not, the studies show that, let's say it's a moral failure, having an affair or doing something, immorality sexually.
Yeah.
They found that a pastor, for the most part, doesn't do it because of lust, doesn't do it because of sexual desire. He does it because of isolation. He's medicating his pain. He's medicating being isolated, and he didn't allow people close enough to know he was struggling.
Wow.
See, that's the thing. He didn't allow people. This is why, I'm still a pastor, and with the guys, I am totally, not with everybody, but I'm very, very open, because I want to show them, hey, it's safe. And not just safe, it's absolutely necessary for you not to remain silent.
Yeah.
But again, you have to nurture it. The Bible says that there's a friend that sticks closer than a brother. And that's an interesting thing. How many friends do you have that you would say that?
Oh yeah. You have a couple. Yeah.
You have a couple, I've got a lot.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's kind of interesting, because I've been intentional.
Well, you searched for them. You went after that.
I went after that, and then I developed it, and I invested, and but see, there's another reason that some of the studies show that why men remain silent, and I found this one interesting. It's because men have a lack of emotional vocabulary.
You're so right. Oh my gosh, I just remembered. I think I've shared this with you before, but one time my buddy Caitlin has these girlfriends she went to high school with, and they're all married now and everything. So a few of the girlfriends came up to our house, and they're all hanging out. And so the guys, the husbands, went in the backyard, do husband stuff, drink beer, and talk topical. But it's funny because
spit and scratch,
all the good stuff, fart and all that. And so one of the husbands and I started talking about deep stuff, like about marriage and communication and all that. It was a really good topic. And the other husband was just listening, drinking a beer, and he just flat out said out of nowhere, is like, guys, I didn't know you could talk this way.
Right.
Like, I didn't know, like, we can talk like that. And we're like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, well, I mean, like with all my buddies, we never talk about our marriages or problems or life or anything. Like, it's really cool to hear you guys talk about this, because I have never talked to my friends about this stuff.
Right.
And I was like, whoa, it just hit me. And this kid, he was a little younger than I was, but it just blew my mind that he noticed it. But he did say something, but he got shown that it was okay to do.
You modeled something that he was never modeled before, right?
Yeah.
Which is so cool. Which is really what this is all about, right? Is we have to be courageous enough to cross over that line, But again, you just can't do it with everybody, because it can be turned on you.
Yeah, it can. I mean, I've had some friends, like, when I'm dealing with some stuff, they're like, oh, sorry, man. And then, or they're like, well, dude, suck it up, dude. Well, stop doing that. Just suck it up. Well, be a man,
Right.
And I'm just like, I've had that line said all the time. But it's funny because of certain personalities and certain scenarios and things that people have gone through. Like, I've had to tell, like, one of my good friends, I can share anything with him too. And he's been an amazing friend, where, like, when my brother died, he checked on me like every day. He called me every day, like, Taylor, how are you doing today?
That's right.
How you
That's
feeling?
good.
And actually, more than any family member, that really did. Like, he called me every day, and I was like, dude, thank you for that. Like, thank you. Because I was and he let me talk and process my thoughts, and he would, like, man, I'm sorry you're going through that. I really am. And I knew he was sorry, because I could tell, because he checked in on me every day. But and I didn't ask him to do that. Like, he just did it. And so I feel like there's two type of men that are, you may be the man who's struggling, who's quiet, and you're battling stuff. And, if you are struggling with suicide, please reach out to us. Like, you can email David here. What's your email?
Next third, best third at gmail.com.
Yeah. So you can email David, talk to him, because that's something
definitely.
that I'm very passionate about, because I've dealt with suicide myself, but I've also had people in my life who have committed suicide, and it's because they've stayed quiet and not knowing that they could ask for help.
Right.
But so you may be that guy, or you might be the other guy where maybe we're in a healthy spot. But don't be so shut off to your guy friends you have in your life. Ask them the question,
Come on.
hey, how are you? And don't allow them to have that typical answer.
Yeah, you've got to make yourself available.
Yeah.
And you have to prove yourself trustworthy.
Yeah.
That's a big one there.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I don't want us to you guys to think that what we're talking about is that we all of a sudden have to become kind of feminized and really emotional. And
it's not a feminine thing.
It's not that at all.
It's not a feminine thing.
I mean, there's guys that I walk with who we have real deep conversations about how's the relationship going, what's your fears, well, all these kind of things. But there's a guy that I was working with, and he was really struggling, right? And his marriage was struggling, and he kept on complaining. And finally I sit there and said, man, will you just grow up? It's not all about you.
You said that
too. I said, you're making this all about you as if you're the victim of what your wife has been doing. I said, look at yourself, fix yourself first. So I was hard on him, and I called him out, but we had built a relationship that it was safe for me to call him out too, versus this just man up thing.
Yeah. I recently called out a friend, I think. It did not go well.
No.
And I was trying to, like, this person was doing some stuff that I'm like, bro, you gotta stop this nonsense.
Yeah.
You're being a baby. You're being a victim. You gotta stop.
Yeah.
And so I tried to have a conversation with him about it. It went bad. It just not good. It got to the point where I realized I'm talking to a brick wall, but it's because I didn't cultivate a real relationship with him.
Yeah.
It's not because, yes, he's struggling with some stuff, granted, but if I was more of a friend, if I had a relationship like I did with you or with my friend Matt, or my buddy Austin, it would probably have gone a lot better.
Right.
But it wasn't there. But I thought I could approach this guy. It just did not go.
Well, it was interesting.
It's so bad. Yeah.
This guy I would not consider him in my inner circle. He's not,
sure.
He's a guy that I've just invested in,
Yeah.
right? And modeled. But
Use your wisdom.
Use wisdom.
Ask yourselves a few questions okay, would I trust this guy with my kids? Would I trust this guy?
Right.
With my, to help my wife out in the situation? Ask yourself some questions. Maybe, I don't know what those questions would be, but just if that guy doesn't fit that mold, maybe don't try to call them out like that.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, yeah, you have to be careful. You have to use wisdom.
Oh, yeah.
But on the other side is when we do have a relationship that we've cultivated. One of the scriptures that says that iron sharpens iron. As two men sharpen each other like iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
And when iron sharpens each other, when you're sharpening with iron, it clashes. Sparks fly, loud noise, irritating, those kind of things. And you need to have that kind of relationship where you can do that.
Yeah.
I've heard it said this way, someone was sharing with me, you need men in your life who can say no. You need men in your life who can give you permission. You need men in your life who can call you on your bullshit. You need men in your life who can encourage you in the right ways, not just agreeing with your victimization or your pain, saying, oh yeah, your wife is this and that. And, I see your point, and she's horrible and, you're underappreciated, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't partner with a guy's
who wants
victim mentality.
Yeah. It causes more division and confusion.
That's right. That's right.
Oh man. Yeah. That's really good.
So what do you think then? Because I think that the silence of a man is not a personality problem. I think it's a connection problem. And that's what we're talking about.
And you brought up vocabulary problem.
Yes.
So, it's hard to say if you're a man that's ready to not be silent anymore. I think just do some exercises with your close friend first.
Yeah.
And go up to him and just say, pick one problem you're dealing with, and whether it be depression, pornography, whatever.
It could be a decision you're trying to wrestle with.
Yeah, and just say, hey man, I know it's kind of off my way of doing things, but can I just open up to you a little bit about something I'm dealing with? And just start with that line. Like, can I open up with something I'm dealing with?
I say that it's the most courageous thing a man can do is be vulnerable, but it's being vulnerable with wisdom, But I think to start with, if you're going to really step into this, you have to make a conscious, intentional decision.
Yeah.
It can't just be, because you've got to make a decision, right? It's got to be intentional. But the other thing that I think would help is if you really are trying to have the next third your best third, if you're really trying to improve your life, is that you view this with a growth mindset.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to get better. I'm going to become a better version of David. Yeah. And how can I do that? By nurturing relationships, by taking some risk, by being more vulnerable with the right guys, or spouse, whatever it is, right? But to look at it saying, okay, this might be embarrassing. This might hurt a little bit. I'm scared. I might be losing control here, because that's a big fear of losing control. But I'm willing to take the risk because I want to grow.
Yeah.
I want to be better next year. I want to be better in the future.
Yeah, and I mean, surrounding yourself with other men who are good at it too, would be great. I mean, I know next year you're going to be doing a lot of men's events. So, I mean...
Yeah, we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, y'all should come, because then you'll get to learn how to do that, like, with other men, and, being able to have that safe place, but able to just finally open up without feeling embarrassed or shameful.
Right.
And so,
seeing other men do it.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. Guys are doing this,
Oh, it's
you might feel like I can't do that. No, this is a movement right now.
No, it is a movement. And it's honestly curing culture. It's making culture better. I don't have the exact study, but I've heard when cultures thrive, it always pinpoints to a healthy and strong father every time.
That's so good.
And it's crazy. In a healthy and strong father in a household, like, that's when the culture tremendously thrives. And that's what we want to see, right? Yeah.
I want to see the culture of my family. I want to see the culture of my sphere of influence thrive.
Yeah.
And for that to happen, I'm a catalyst. You have to view yourself as a catalyst. Yeah. You have to view yourself as hey, it's going to start with me. Yeah. I'm going to be intentional. I've shared a story of my friend who started calling. He really dug into next third, best third, and he started reaching out to guys that he went to high school and college with.
Oh, wow.
And this guy's in his 60s.
Gosh.
So he hadn't talked to some of these guys in 30, 40 years. Wow. And he's making new connection with them. And the cool thing about it is he's making real connection with some of them, not all of them. Yeah. But these guys are feeling significant because they're being seen and heard and valued. He's making a point of saying, I remember you. You've meant something to me. And it's changed his life. Like, he's flourishing right now. He's the best that he's probably been in maybe his entire life.
That's good.
So his next third is truly being his best third.
That's awesome.
But it's because he was intentional.
Yeah.
About reaching out.
That's good.
Yeah, this has been fun.
Yeah, it's a good topic.
It is a good topic. You can continue digging into this, but really what we want to encourage you guys is again, like everything in next third, best third, is examine where you are, right? Examine where you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, your highs, your lows. Take honest appraisal. And if you're finding yourself silent because of fear, silent because you don't want to lose control, silent because you don't, you might be thinking that you're weak. Do you find yourself isolated? If that's the case, you've got to take some steps. And these steps, I think, begin with an intentional decision, right? And as you said, I think that's so good. Is there someone in your life? Is there somebody in your life, spouse or a friend that you have, that you can begin with? Yeah. Who can you reach out to say, hey, I want to try something? I mean, just be real. Yeah. Say, hey, I've never done this before, and I really, really, really need this. And just start there.
Yeah.
So good. Well, thank you all for being a part of this. We love having you here. Our goal is truly to make your life become better, to see your next third, your best third. And if you do us a favor, as always, if you'd like, comment, subscribe, share. We have increased over 300 subscribers in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, we're like getting 20 a day now.
I know, it's really cool.
And it's so exciting because, men are wanting to make a difference. They want to make a difference in their life. They want to make a difference in their family's life and in their spheres of influence.
That's right.
We'll see you next time.